Hi guys, it's Kirsty here from KirstyTV. I'm here today with an amazing young man, Reggie Shaw. When he was just 19, he was driving distractedly, texting and driving, and he took the lives of 2 men. It's something that he has to live with every day, and he's here today to share his amazing story. Thank you so much for being here today, Reggie.
Yeah, thank you. Glad I could be here.
I know this must be hard for you to be out there sharing a story such as this. How hard was it for you in the very beginning to realize that that was now attached to your name? That introduction and bio I read out, that at 19 you killed 2 men. Was it surreal for you at first that this was even something you'd done?
Yeah, that's very difficult. No one wants that tied to their name. I don't want to be Reggie Shaw, the guy who took 2 men's lives because of a decision that he made. That's not something that I ever wanted, and it's not something that I want now. And I regret that choice every day, and that tag that now goes along with my name is part of that regret. That's how people know me. I've moved on. I've done a lot of things with my life outside of this, and that's how people know me, and that's how people will always know me. And I wish that there was something else. There was some other tag with me.
Yeah. How do you feel about that 19-year-old boy when you think of him now?
That's a very good question. I was 19. I thought I was invincible. I thought that I could do any and everything I wanted and not hurt or harm anyone, and it was ignorant. It was, I was young. I was immature. I made a very, very terrible decision, and I wish I could go back and change what I did, but unfortunately I can't.
Who were you before this accident? Who were you as an 18, 19-year-old?
I was, at the time, I was living at home with my parents. I had just got home. Played college basketball for 1 year and moved home for a little bit. And, I was a happy person. I got along with everyone. I enjoyed my life. Not a lot of worries, not a lot of problems. Just, worked every day. I was just typical.
Yeah. What do you think you lost the day that accident happened?
I lost a lot. I've never really been that same person. I battled depression. I kind of forced to grow up quick and make grown-up decisions for myself, and it was not easy. And I'll never be the person that I once was. And I had a plan. I had goals. I had things that I wanted to do that I never really got to accomplish. And my life's gone down a different path, and I've done and accomplished other things, but I'll never live that life that I had set out for.
So it's like there's a grieving of a loss for 3 people, really. There's the 2 men who were killed, but there's also, getting emotional. There's a loss of a young Reggie as well, and I think that's the thing that all young people need to realize, and not just young people, because there's a lot of us out there there's people who will judge that you were driving and you killed 2 men, but there's also that you're a victim as well, that you made a really bad choice and it has affected your life irrevocably. And there's so many of us who do it. I myself was texting and driving, usually when the car was stopped, thinking that was better, but it's not. And after watching your interview a couple of weeks ago, the documentary that you were in, and other people who've been texting and driving and researching this story, I have not texted and drove since, and I will not. I think that one of the most profound things that you said that stood out to me was that you really saw that what you did was a selfish choice, that you chose you and your text was more important than someone else's life. And I think that that's an amazing way of seeing it, and that's what has stopped me from doing it. Every time I go, because it's a habit, you go to get that phone or plug it into the charger or take a message, when somebody texts while you're driving, you hear it ding, that's what comes into my head now, that I'm not going to make a selfish choice and I'm not going to choose me or that message over focusing on the road because I could injure someone.
Yeah, exactly. And there's, a couple thoughts I have. One, like you said, I made a choice. There's no way around it. I can't point my finger at anything or anyone else. Um, I was driving. I made a poor decision, and I took two men away from families, and that's what is so hard for me. Is I see these families, I see their wives and their daughters, and I've grown to know some of them, and I see that years later, some of them still struggle, and it's so difficult for me to think that texting while driving felt to me, it seemed easy, it seemed simple. It was such a small decision in my big life, and that small decision affected so many people so many different ways, and I just wish that I could go back and just put my phone away, turn it off, and I would have went on. I wouldn't be doing some of the things that I'm doing today, and I would be grateful.
And I think it's something like 11 accidents a day in the US. The statistics are huge, the amount of people. And I think it's getting worse because we have a younger generation of drivers that have grown up as texters. They're linked to their phone. They feel withdrawals if they're not texting. It's so intuitive. And so I think that's the thing that they, as you say, you're in your world, you're not thinking of the longer term repercussions. We're in the moment, and what we have to be aware of is that this can change things forever in an instant. What was going on that day that, this was a road you'd driven hundreds of times, you live in a small town, so tell me about the accident itself, what you recall.
Yeah, I woke up. I grew up in a small town, like you said, in northern Utah, and town that I worked in was about 25 minutes away, and it was a road that I not only drove every day for work, but where I grew up, if you wanted to go to the movie, you wanted to go to the mall, this is the town that you went to. So sometimes you would make that drive 2 or 3 times a day. So I was very comfortable. Got up early for work. Weather was bad. It was raining, and I left for work and. Reading text messages, and um, I went across the center line, and that's when I clipped another car, and it swung behind me and was hit by the truck behind me. And
Do you recall everything? Were you texting when it happened? Like, did the sound bring you out of it?
um, it's tough for me still to this day. There's things that I don't remember. I've been to some counseling. I've been to get some help, and they think that the shock, I've just blocked some stuff out. I get asked all the time, were you sending a message? Were you reading a message? I don't remember. I know who the message was going to. I don't remember what it said. I still, to this day, will wake up and hear glass breaking and tires screeching, and that's a reoccurring nightmare that I have. But as far as do I remember when I was looking down, when I looked up? It all happened so fast. Next thing I know, I'm on the opposite side of the road, and I look behind me, and there's a truck and a car in the ditch, and I just remember kind of saying to myself, what just happened? Texting and driving was using my phone while I drove. I did that all the time. So to me, at that time in my life, I was just driving. I wasn't using my phone. I was just driving. And it all happened so fast that it's like, man, what really just happened? And I had no idea.
Yeah, you didn't make all the connections. What did you see the other two men? Did you try and get out of the car?
So I got out of the car. I headed back towards the accident. Um, the driver of the truck who hit the two men was standing on the road, and he was on the phone, and the only thing I remember him saying is, "No, they're not breathing." And I didn't look in the car. I didn't see the two men. But that was the first time that I knew that I had took at least one man's life. And that was one of the scariest things that I've ever heard.
Yeah. I imagine it's hard for other people to, you know, because there's always so many different judgments and sides, but to hear, you know, you had a true sense of heartbreak and loss that you had taken these men's lives.
You know, at that point in my life, I never had a speeding ticket, never been pulled over, never, you know, I tried to make the best decisions in my life that I could. You know, no one, hopefully no one lives their life trying to hurt people. For me, I didn't want to hurt anyone. I didn't want to, you know, literally, I didn't want to pinch someone. I wanted everyone around me to be happy all the time. And to know what I did was so difficult. It was so hard. I can't even put into words how hard it is for me still to this day to know that there should be two men out there for their families that are not, because I took that away.
Mm. So has that been the hardest part of all of this, having to live with that knowledge?
Yeah. You know, there's two things that make this really hard for me. One, like I've said, is their families. It's extremely difficult for me to know that they don't have their husband and their father. And the other thing that is so difficult for me is this was 100% preventable. These accidents, my accident, it did not have to happen.
Yeah.
The solution, the answer was simple. Just put my phone away, and me and those two men pass on the road that day, and they go on their way, I go on my way, and you know, we continue with our lives.
And I know that when you went to court, because you faced charges over this, one of the, Jackie, wanted you to watch the funeral video of her father. Or was it her husband?
Her husband.
Yeah. How hard was that for you?
We didn't end up watching the video from the funeral. Is what they did was in court they showed basically a slideshow of images of their life, who they are, and what they meant to the people around them.
And that was because she wanted you to understand who these men were, to have kind of more like a name to a face, to understand a bit more about them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think back to that day, and that was very hard for me. It was very hard for me to see what I took away. And now I think back, and that same video, those same images, still difficult for me, but they're also motivators for me. You know what? Those were two men doing good with their life. What kind of person would I be to not do the best that I can with mine?
Well, and I think that for anybody out there, because the sad reality is that with so many deaths every day, there are people who are just like you, the ones who were driving, who have to live with this forever. And I think that it's just as important for anyone who has been through something where they make a really bad choice and it ends up having irreversible consequences, that they know that life does go on and that they can find a way forward. And one of the ways is, as you said, to find a way to make meaning and to go on and make them proud. and not waste your life.
Yeah, you know, one thing that I was taught shortly after we went to court, and you know, I've really taken it to heart, and I've mentioned it many places before, but someone taught me that to be a good member of society, you have to give more than you take. And, you know, I think about what I've taken, and how do I give that back? I can't. I can do my best, and you know, I can serve and speak and go out and give as much as I can in hopes that I can somewhere touch someone's life and save someone else's life and give back the best that I can.
Well, and I think you certainly are. I mean, you've made a difference already with the documentary, and you speak 52 times a year, and all of the people you're speaking to, I know that many, many, many people have stopped texting and driving because of what you've said, and you have saved lives. And you are giving back to society by giving more than you've taken. I know that, you know, for 7 years now, you've done nothing but try and make amends. Do you feel sometimes, I know that you get asked a lot, you did 30 days in prison, and you get asked whether you think that was enough. And I know that now, that at the time you were a landmark case, no one had been tried for texting and driving. So now would it be a 15-year sentence? But, you know, back then that wasn't the case. You did community service. Do you feel sometimes that even though you're on the outside, you're still paying, you're still doing time?
You know, first, if I could go spend the rest of my life in jail to bring back those two men's lives, I would do it. I wouldn't hesitate. Um, you know, and I do get asked all the time about the 30 days, and you know, the honest answer is, I don't know what would have been appropriate for me, what the correct sentence is, and you know, I do know what I can tell you is that I do struggle with this every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about what I did, that I don't wish I could change what I did. Um, you know, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't wish that I could also go out and influence others. I read a story the other day about a young girl back east who had taken someone's life because she was texting while driving. And the first thought through my head is, why could I have not talked to her? Why couldn't I get to her the day before and change the way that she drives so it could have saved someone's life? And it's difficult for me to see people making the same poor mistake that I made. And you know, I wish there was a way that I could influence others to not make that decision.
She's obviously going to have a really tough time of things now. Being that you've been through this for 7 years, what would you say to her if you were with her the first day after she'd killed somebody?
You know, there's a couple things. One, I think back to what happened to me and what I did after. And I made a lot of mistakes immediately after the accident. The first thing is you know, one thing that I've learned is that not all advice that people give you is good advice. I took some advice and I took it, and you know, they told me to not have any contact with the families, and um, you know, I didn't apologize to those families till years later, and that was something that was hard for me. The first thing that I would say is, you know, find those families, let them know now how sorry you are, you know, and then find help. Go speak with someone else that can help you. I spent a lot of time in days in depression and pushed a lot of people out of my life that could have helped me move on, and I wish that I would have got the help that I have now sooner. You know, and the next thing is help others learn from your mistake. You know, it's difficult to understand right now, and you know, myself, her, others, we've done something terrible, and you know, there are millions of other people every single day making that same terrible choice. That they need to understand, like myself, We didn't think it would be us. We didn't think that we would do this. And that's how everyone thinks when they're behind the wheel with their phone. It's not going to be them. So get out, talk to others. Please help them understand that you, like them, thought that it wouldn't be you.
Yeah. And what do you say to people when you see them texting and driving, or you hear about it, or does it frustrate you when you see somebody walking across the street not paying attention, or in a car next to you?
Yeah, it's scary. For the last few years, I've been a very observant driver. I pay better attention now than probably 90% of the world when they drive. And it is scary, some of the things that you'll see people do behind the wheel. And the unfortunate thing is I can't pull every single person over I see on the road and talk to them individually. There's the people in my life that are around me that I speak to regularly, and they know that I don't put up with it at all. If that's a decision that you made, then there's not a lot of room for you in my life. I need positivity. I need people that support me, and the people around me understand that. However, I wish that I could pull everyone over, because it's frustrating. The correct word for it is scary. It is scary out there.
Well, and I think it's things like girls putting on makeup, talking as well as texting, if it's not on a Bluetooth. And I said to you the other day, I mean, even on television shows, I still see it every night, how many people are driving while talking and not using a hands-free device. It's just insanity to me that they would do that in TV shows that, kids are watching, and this is molding and shaping our future.
Yeah, absolutely. Cell phones, it's just part of our culture. It's the way it is. Everyone has one. Everyone uses one. There's places where it's appropriate to use one, and there's places where it's inappropriate, and the car should never be used there.
If it's urgent, you can always find a time, 30 seconds to pull over and do it on the side of the road. And if it's not, it can wait the 5, 10, 20 minutes between you and your next destination. I've certainly, since I've stopped, gotten much better at going, okay, is anything I need to do beforehand or after? And that's just how I think about it now, that everything can wait. And that's the part of the program that you're part of, isn't it? It can wait.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the AT&T It Can Wait program. I talk to people all the time, and one thing is people, hey, I need to make a quick phone call if the main thing is if I'm running late for a meeting or I'm running late for work. And the thing is wouldn't they rather you be late than not show up at all?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it comes back to, again, that question of, do you want to choose to be selfish? For me, that was the most profound way of looking at it. Just every time, am I going to choose to be selfish? Is it about me or that meeting? Does that take priority, or to someone else's life? And I think if you keep coming back to that question of what is the priority, what is more important, then you're going to make the right choices. What has it meant to you? Because I know that you're quite close with one of the daughters, Megan. What has that relationship, this is the daughter of one of the victims, what has her forgiveness meant to you?
I can't even express what it's meant to me. Megan, she's turned into one of my best friends. There are days that I struggle and she struggles, and being able to pick up the phone and talk to someone who knows exactly what's going on, knows how to relate, knows how to be there for you, support you, is amazing. And for someone to show me the forgiveness that she's shown me, it teaches me, what can I not forgive? What could someone do to me that I can't forgive? She's taught me a very important lesson, and I love Megan. I appreciate everything she's done for me, and I hope to have that friendship for the rest of my life.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful gift in humanity. What do you think's been the greatest gift for you in this situation, in having to live through this experience? Who has it made you?
Yeah, well, number one is, we just touched on it, is forgiveness. I, I feel like I can forgive everyone at this point in my life. No one has done something so big to me that I cannot forgive them for it. And it's also made me very aware of my choices. Every choice that I make, like I said, that at the time was a small choice. How many small choices do we make every single day that could affect everyone around us? But we don't even think about it. We don't consider everyone else around us. And it's made me more aware of the things that I do on a daily basis and how it's going to affect others. And, you know, I really sincerely try to put others first in my life. And, you know, another thing is service. And everyone that I talk to, I throw a challenge out to them. Say, when you're having a bad day, when things are hard, find a way to serve someone. Do something for someone else, and it will change your day around. Could be small, could be big. You know, going out, talking to teens, talking to other people, it is one of the most healing things for me right now. It is one of the only things that gets me through this consistently.
Well, I think that that's amazing that you found these beautiful gifts in such a tragic event, being able to learn how powerful forgiveness can be and being able to become of service. You know, you're a very different person than the naive 19-year-old boy who started on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm around a lot of young kids, and there's a term I hear all the time, and it's YOLO. You only live once. And I see a lot of kids using that as an excuse to just do absurd things. And to me, I look at it the other way, as you only live once. Cherish it, take care of it, value it, help others, be there for others. That to me is living. Living is enjoying what you're doing, but recognizing that this world is so big and there are so many people around you that need you, that want you, and you need to be valuable to them. By doing absurd, naive, ignorant things, you don't know what you're going to take away from yourselves or from others in this life, and you're going to lose out on opportunities.
Well, I think that that is really just so profound. I think that we need to see the gift that life is, and as you say, really truly value that and not throw it away. Thank you so much for being here today, Reggie, and giving us some of your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was great. I appreciate it.
Well, to all of my viewers out there, I hope that you have been as touched and impacted by Reggie's story as I would. I am. As I said, have stopped texting and driving, and I think that, you know, part of his message and the reason he continues to share, even though I'm sure every time is painful to have to rehash, is because he wants to make sure that others don't do the same thing and end up with tragic and devastating results. So I hope that you all take the challenge and know that it can wait. Please don't text and drive or distractedly drive in any way. I look forward to seeing you next time on KirstyTV. Don't forget to tweet us, post some comments, share any thoughts that you have or experiences that you've been through, and we'll see you next time on KirstyTV.